So, hello and welcome to Fossil Survival Corner. This is the little segment where we go and we take some survival information and try to throw it out to you guys. And this information is derived from many sources, including the Survival Wisdom and Know-How Handbook. Now, this is something that you could throw in your pocket and carry out in the woods when you're hiking and such. So you always have good information, when you're out in the wilderness trying to survive. So anyway, we're talking about nothing other than fire today. So fire, probably the most iconic thing involved in the whole survival genre. You imagine the old caveman on his quest for fire and trying to build the heat to keep the great animals at bay and trying to keep warm and eating his roast beast and stuff like that. So what's the big deal about fire? Well, it keeps you warm. It's actually part of that whole survival hierarchy here, probably coming in, I would think, at number 2. And let's go over those right quick. So 1 is air. Without air, oxygen, you're not going to last but minutes. So that's pretty important stuff. So I'm going to put that at the top of the list. Shelter, depending on your surroundings, could be also you're only going to last minutes. Say you're out in a very cold environment. Hyperthermia is a thing. Hyperthermia is a thing too, but hypothermia. So anything, yeah. So shelter may or may not, rank up there in that number 2 position. 3rd would be water, because you can only last about 3 days without water. Not a good way to go. And then food you can last for weeks, so it's kind of further down the list. And then fifth is a barca lounger, but we'll go through some more of these a little bit later on. So anyway, right now though, so fire keeps you warm. Fire will help dry your clothes out so you don't freeze to death while you're there, because wet clothes sucks the heat right out of you. So you can dry your clothes, hang around the fire, and be relatively comfortable, because hypothermia is no fun. You can cook food, you can boil your water, kill all those little critters that live in those things, the parasites, the bacteria, nasty stuff like that, because dysentery is also no fun. It also has the benefit of making your food taste better. So you cook your food up, it's going to be a little better for your morale. If you've ever had to eat a cold raw squirrel, you know what I'm talking about. It can light your way in the darkness. It pushes back the night, that sort of thing, because falling into crevices also no fun. So yeah, it will allow you to see where you might not otherwise be able to. It can add to your defense. Most animals don't like fire, so you build your little campsite with a fire in there, and animals won't approach. And if they do, you can just play a game of Ring Around the Rosie, with that lion on the other side, and keep the fire between you, and maybe he'll lose interest and move along. You can also harden some weapons. You can make your weapons better. You can make you a spear and sharpen it, and then put it in the fire to kind of toast up the end and make that wood a lot harder, so it's not the soft little wood that bends. Instead, it would pierce and all. And you can use fire to signal for rescue. You can use the smoke to attract attention, or the fire at night, things like that, so people can come get you and take you back to warm places that you want to be. So there's why. There's the why of fire. So now's the how. How do I get this fire? Well, you can find it naturally occurring. There's lightning strikes that happen all the time. Forest fires begin with lightning a lot. So while that may not be recommended because they're kind of hard to find, and you got to be out there and you got to be lucky and all that, and you're in the middle of a thunderstorm, that's probably not the best method. Talking about naturally occurring forest fires, trees rub together, wind blows, limbs rub, things like that, using that same friction type thing that we talk about in fire making. So if you find a couple of trees that are rubbing together, you can sit there and wait, and maybe that'll create a fire for you. It's really slow. That's probably not the best use of your time, but it is an option. Third, lava. If you can find a pool of lava or some flowing lava, then you can take a stick, go up there and stick it in that lava, and boom, you got an instant fire all day long. You can have as much fire as you need. In fact, you get close enough to it, you may catch on fire, and then now you've got the fire going along with you, so you don't have to worry about trying to create it. Of course, that may eliminate the need for fire in the first place. But anyway, yeah, so kind of dangerous with the lava, but again, out there. So the more manual methods that personal methods, I guess I'd call them, magnifying glasses, bottles, broken glass, your own glasses, things like that. You can use these and focus light to a small point on your tinder and create a fire. It's dependent on the sun, so cloudy days a little tougher, and man, it is so hard to do this at night. So yeah, while it's a good method, it does have some drawbacks. Self-made friction, that's using things like rubbing the two sticks together, making a fire drill or the bow drill, things like that, things where you're running the stick on the flat piece of wood and trying to create enough heat to get an ember so you can start your tinder on fire. And then there's commercial means, things like lighters, matches, the little forever match that you pull out, and essentially a lighter, but works really well in wet conditions. And then there's the striker type, where you have the magnesium fire sticks, things like flint and steel, where you're driving a spark down in your tinder. So a lot of ways to get fire. So let's go through those steps. So making a fire, step one is build a receptacle for your fire, because fire is great in small quantities. When it gets out of hand, not so much. I mean, it doesn't do you much good to build a fire and then wind up dying in the fire that you've built because the forest is now burning around you. So anyway, prepare your site safely. Clear other debris around from it. Keep your fire where you want it, not anywhere else. Prepare your tinder in advance, and that's cutting little strips of wood or finding pieces of moss or dry grass, stuff like that. So you have things that light easily, and then as it burns, you can add more bigger fuel onto it until you have a really full fire there. And speaking of, gather your fuel before you ever start the fire. Nothing more irritating than getting a little fragile fire going and then running off in the woods to get some sticks and coming back, and when you come back, it's just a cold little the remains of what used to be an ember there that you've screwed it up. So yeah, prepare everything, and while you're at it, gather more fuel than you think you need, because it burns much faster than you think it would. And again, you don't want to have your fire go out before you're ready for it to go out. It's so much easier to maintain fire than to create fire. So there's that. And use care when you're cutting your tinder and getting your wood and all that stuff, because we haven't covered first aid yet. So don't cut anything off or anything like that. Making fire, step two, light that sucker. So here we go. So whether you're using the magnesium or the flint and steel or the bow drill or the magnifying glass, so making that fire is not easy. So let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, Tom, I feel your pain. Yes, that's what manual fire making is all about right there. So yeah, so let's go ahead and let's take all this information that we've gathered, all this knowledge that we've now obtained, and let's put it to the test. Let's go ahead and make fire while on video and see how that works. So watch along with me, please. Alrighty, we're out here now, and we've gathered up all our sticks and little things that we can use to make a fire drill, rub sticks together, try to do something to create friction, have the magnifying glass where we can try to focus some light and create fire. And for simplicity's sake, I just have a little bit of toilet paper here, valuable stuff actually. I'm going to use as our tinder. So as I hope we pointed out anyway, that making fire is hard, especially when you're in conditions that you're in hypothermic type things and you're shaking and all that. Very difficult. So yeah, this is probably an easier method. In the cold, your mileage may vary, it's tough, but my point, I guess, is why wouldn't you, give it a choice, bring something out that makes fire for you? Watch this, watch how quick this works. Hello, work for me. Oh, we're gonna die. So there's a good thing there. Oh, here we go. There's our fire. So we can actually create a little bit of fire to keep ourselves warm. So there's lighters of all kinds that you can get. I mean, the little Bic lighter. How hard is it to throw that in your car or in your pocket or something like that? But yeah, fire's important. Fire can save your life. So hopefully this does you some little bit of good. So, whew. Time to get the old steaks on, I guess, huh? So everybody have a great day and happy surviving out there. Alrighty, so there we go. So yeah, when it comes to fire, it makes a very good ally when you're out in the wilderness. It can keep you warm, help you do your food and water, stuff like that. But it's a very terrible enemy. So again, be very safe. Be very careful when you do that. Make your sight correctly and safely, and try not to hurt yourself. As we saw in the video, one of the takeaways there, the unintended consequences, was the lighter had a little difficulty starting. So yeah, while I still maintain that it's a good idea to keep a lighter in your car, your backpack, or your pocket, or whatever. You should know these other methods of creating fire in case you lose the lighter breaks, runs out of butane, the flint falls out, it gets wet, whatever. So that way you have something to fall back on, because survival's a combination of knowledge, of attitude, and equipment. So everything there, make sure you have all of those things covered one way or another. Anyway, that's it for now. We're just gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Appreciate you being here for Fossil Survival Corner, and everybody out there, stay safe, huh?